Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Oretotile Jeffries Kosana. I am a postgraduate bursary administrator at the College of Graduate Studies, and I'm a proud UNISA graduate and the face and founder of Jeff Jackson Morgiano Artistic Brand. I will be your program director this morning, and I'm very much excited and honored to be launching this beautiful invention with you guys, which is the Master's and Doctoral Student Supervision and Monitoring Dashboard, which will be helping us connect, support, and succeed in academia. We have a couple of speakers today that I'll mention. I just want to make a declaration, dear speakers, that I will try my utmost best to pronounce your names correctly. Know that it's coming from the bottom of my heart with love. Moving forward, I would like to acknowledge our Vice Principal, Professor Thenjiwe Meiwa, and our current Acting Executive Dean, Professor Patrick Ngulube. And furthermore, I'd also like to acknowledge our keynote speaker today, who is the Executive Director of Planning and Quality Assurance, Professor Luvuyo Lalendle. Now, we have a couple of other speakers in addition to the few colleagues that I have mentioned, which is Dr. Magua and Mr. Jason Mingson and Professor Tracy McKay. Now, we'll be having this beautiful time together this morning for 2 hours up until 11 a.m. Audience out there, students, academics, and everyone else, stakeholders, know that you can like our Facebook page at UNISA Research, at UNISA Research, and also our Twitter account, UNISA Research, at UNISA RENDL, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, UNISA College of Graduate Studies. We'll be hoping to see you then, and please make sure that you like and comment and follow up with any announcement that shows up on the pages. Know that this event is recorded and we have about 6 items this morning, so it won't be a long program, but it will be an exciting one. I would like to hand over to the Vice Principal of Research, Postgraduate Studies, Innovation and Commercialization, Professor Thenjiwe Meiwa, to do our welcoming address. Thank you very much. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, colleagues. To the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of South Africa in absentia. She's attending the council meeting right now. To the Acting Executive Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, Professor Patrick Ngulube, the management of the College of Graduate Studies, the organizers of this very important event that means a lot to me, to colleagues who are managerial in many levels within the university and those that are in the research heads, offices, all protocol observed, and of course to our students. I greet everyone, colleagues here in South Africa and Pretoria, where I am right now, across the country, as well as beyond, because our students actually, as well as our staff and associates, are throughout the world. We are, if anything, an international university. It gives me pleasure this morning to do this welcome on a very important milestone that relates to the supervision and monitoring dashboard. We shall be tracking our students because that's how important the students are to us as both management, as both CGS, and more importantly, as supervisors. Now, our mission, of course, is to get you to walk the graduation stage. And for us, that is very important. Hence, we are launching this program this morning. A reason being that we want you to be successful. We want you to get to be on this stage, but not just only be on this stage, but be on this stage on the basis of having worked hard, of us having played a significant role as administrators to track and monitor your performance, your studies, our support to you, but more importantly, to ensure that your certificate that you shall carry and actually has a name on it as UNISA is one that we're proud of. Hence, the launch of this a program that we have right now. This is a very short welcome, of course, and the outline is as thus. I just want to share with you some historical trends for you to appreciate and possible pardon us for all the ills of the past, just to demonstrate historically where we've been, but also to show you how important this program is and how important the students are, that is postgraduate students, M&Ds in particular, who form a huge number thereof being staff students who are lecturers who actually tend to be supervisors themselves in the long run. And I will end off by just sharing with you some of our audited outcomes of where we've specifically supported the doctoral program. I'm sharing this information because it's availed on Martix due to it having been used for the doctoral review that we had in 2020. Colleagues, in the last 5 years or so, 2014 to 2018, this is how we fared as a university. Just to appreciate in these broad fields, it's not necessarily colleges, but just in the broad fields, I've had to pick up the highlights of how we have been in leaps and bounds growing as a university, and in particular growing a doctoral enrollment. So is the case with a master's enrollment. But what does this tell for me? It talks to the fact that we having more and more of our students in the system, and therefore we need to be providing more and more, much more integrated support relative to the past, and much more monitoring and checking and providing supervision that shall ensure that you walk the graduation stage, as I said earlier. So I shall be looking at just quickly the history where we've come. That's where we've been indicating, although we have had some dips, in particular with the business and management sciences in 2009, but we picked up quite nicely in 2010. But the long story cut short, we're growing in leaps and bounds, and we're very worried that with us growing this much, we need to provide the support that actually is up to scratch and is of high standard. And of course, with the assistance of our ICT team, we shall be hearing more about that later. Now, just a bit more on the trends and strategies that we've employed in the past to see the growth that we've seen up to 2018. We have increased in actually unprecedented percentages by 161% over the period of 2004 to 2018, which has actually been about 11.5 average increase. Although there was a decline, as I said earlier on, but there as it may be, other broad fields picked up the numbers. Hence, you see that a global increase over the last 5 years, dating from 2014 to 2018, have been that phenomenal. We have also seen, more importantly, which has not been in our doctoral enrollments, a strong showing, but we have seen the growth in these enrollments in particular. And in the year 2019 and 2020, we've seen a lot of graduations in the College of Science, Engineering and Technology, and the reason for that because of late enrollments, but this is picking up quite well, and I'm very confident that we will see more graduating students, masters and doctoral in this field, and more because we're having them as full-time students. So is the case in the other areas as well. We've seen increase over the years, which demonstrates the need for this kind of a dashboard so that we don't leave students behind. We make it a point that we are graduating students, quality students, students who will also be publishing, so that we are making an impact that we seek to make out there, and we have a reputation as a university enhancing as well as make the contribution that we so much want to make and define indeed tomorrow and the futures differently. Just a bit of the strategic outlook in terms of why the concentration on the master's and doctoral students, just to show you that up to 2019, as per the audited statistics, and in line with the strategy target or 3.3, is that we want to advance ODEL research in Africa. And although we have not done as well as one would expect relatively to other fields, but you can see the growth from 2016 to 2019, the number of, in particular, doctoral and master's graduates that we've had that specifically are focusing on ODEL, theses, dissertations, which responds quite well to our strategy targets 3.3, wherein we want to not just only as a university that's excelling in ODEL, but do so on the African continent and respond indeed to this strategic target. I'll just only zoom into that one. I also want to share with you, program director and colleagues, students, the necessary support system to realize these numbers that I've shared with you, as well as to realize the figure that I made reference to earlier that is actually just shy of 200% over the 5 years, 2014 to 2018. The programs that we have, some of which you will be aware of, which my portfolio is overlooking, at the bottom there, I draw your attention to how over the years we've supported students but dipped due to funds that are dwindling from externally as well as internally, because the less funds we have, the less we're able to support. But we're trying to attend to those challenges. But on the global scale, the support that we provide to our students is a support that demonstrates that we have to be providing this kind of supervision and monitoring dashboard to be able to be informed by evidence-based data and provide the support. And the support, of course, as I said earlier, it has been to the qualification improvement program for our staff who are staff students, as I call them, because of us wanting to concentrate on the graduate being and ensure that we achieve all that we set to achieve and contribute significantly to the national development plan. And then this is the last slide, the program director, now I'm going overboard with my time possible. It's just to say that this is an overview of selected doctoral initiatives that we've had in the university in the past 6 years or so, with audited data that I want to share with you, which goes to show that we see more and more relative to the past, the involvement and fit achievement of the previously disadvantaged being ascending the throne of the master's and doctoral stages, and therefore getting these qualifications, which for us are outputs, and it does relate to one of our targets of ensuring that our outputs that respond to not only the pursuits of the university, but pursuits of the national development plan, to ensure that we have more masters and of course doctoral students and have a better improved economy, because with more doctoral students, more graduate students, more master students, we have a better economy. And this launch that we're having this morning of the dashboard that is tracking our students to provide a better supervision links to that bigger vision, a national vision of having a better future for everyone, one that is better defined and one that is more influential and impactful. As I end, Thank you, Program Director, and to the colleagues who worked behind the scenes for a very long time to ensure that we launch this dashboard in particular, but work before even launching the dashboard was a lot of work that was done by a number of teams, leading to what we're seeing today. Thank you to every one of you for all the work that you've done in the Bonga.
Thank you for that, Prof. Thank you for laying out pretty much the foundation for this morning and setting up the tone. I came in very fast because I wanted to give everyone a chance to really lay out the most crucial information. And we thank you for your leadership. And as we proceed, I just want to remind the audience that this is being recorded as it is live as well. And I would like to also remind you that you can actually interact with our speakers on it's called a live event Q&A chat on your right-hand side. It's a feature on your right-hand side. You just type in there and then you press the submit button. And then furthermore, I would like to also say to the presenters that you should also be aware of those questions that come in, particularly Dr. Makua, as the leader of the project, to also look into those questions. So since you might have more input to those questions. Thank you, colleagues, for the time. And I'll be moving on to Dr. Makua, who's the project leader and acting head of quality assurance and enhancement at the College of Graduate Studies. She'll be giving us the program concept, which is the introduction of the project steering committee, their roles and the capabilities of this dashboard, which I think is an incredible invention. Over to you.
Good morning, colleagues, and welcome everybody. I'm very happy that finally the work that was behind the curtain is now coming to the audience and is now coming to the UNISA community for implementation. My name is Meme Makua, as it has already been alluded. Without wasting much time, I would like us to look at the presentation. It's going to be vice versa. I'm going to introduce the team behind the dashboard at the end, not at the beginning, as the program director has said. Colleagues, monitoring master's and doctoral students being at the College of Graduate Studies means that the quality assurer has to have tools of trade to be able to get to the progress of each and every student in the other colleges. But before you can monitor the students' progress, one has to have enhanced the supervision, that is giving the students and the supervisors a voice to be able to enhance the supervision. It's better to enhance the supervision before you can do the monitoring when you are a quality assurance and enhancement at the College of Graduate Studies. But then sometimes it's not possible, especially when you don't have the tools of trade. But to be able to look at the tools of trade, one have to look at the quality assurance that is in place in terms of policies and in terms of what are the people using. Those are the supervisors and the students themselves. When we look at what UNISA has, we found that UNISA has got a lot of appropriate policies and procedures in place to ensure the quality of the experience of the master's and doctoral students. But the policies and procedures are not always being implemented to the optimum effect due to other hindrances, of course. And also, we don't have guidelines currently on the number of students an academic may supervise, and it ends up making some of the supervisors to be expected to accommodate more students than they can because those students are in their niche areas. And when you have more students than you really have capacity, it causes a challenge as to saying how many students will you actively supervise as compared to those that might be having challenges in terms of their work and their social challenges at home. If they are not very active and coming up, they need you to nudge them. And if they are many, obviously, those that you are able to actively supervise, you will go along with them, and those that needs nudging might not be on the bandwagon. We don't have a formal online monitoring system for the M&D student. What we were having, it was having one voice. That was the voice of the supervisor, because it was the supervisor who was recording the activities between the student and the supervisor. But we need, as we are an online ODEL university, we need a voice from both the student and the supervisor to interact. Then we can monitor the progress of the student when both the student and the supervisor have got a voice. And the voice, which was only one-sided and which was not a live voice, led to inadequate monitoring of the M&D students' progress, and that led to a lot of dissatisfaction from some of the supervisor-student interactions, and there were a lot of conflicts, as well as delayed recording of student research activities, and some of the poor interactions led to poor retention rates of the students because problems couldn't be identified promptly. This is what I was alluding to, that we have a MyUNISA M&D activity which is recorded by the supervisors. It has only the voice of the supervisor and not that of the student. And sometimes when supervisors try to record on that platform, the system is down. So we wanted a system that will not be down, that will be universally utilized, that will automatically record whatever interactions are happening. The shortcomings that I alluded to also were realized during the call audit in 2019, and they did comment whatever we were having, but they said it's not enough because the amount of students that are coming in is not relevant to the throughput that we were having due to the challenges of being able to monitor the students' progress. And the call audit recommended that we develop a more sophisticated online system for each student to enable tracking of the progress and the interactions between the student and the supervisor. Then we went about conceptualizing the online solution at CGS, and while we did that as well, we looked at what is it that we are able to do. We found that at CGS, we mostly have the academic content, but because we have to harness the ICT's capabilities to be fully ODEL as we are, having the ODEL business model, then we approached ICT to assist us with the technical support. And the product became a specific online research support platform that was integrated within MS Teams, backed by SharePoint. What the system is able to do, it allows the supervisor-student interactions. So we will be having the voice of both student and supervisor, and it will provide us with a transparent master's and doctoral research process workflow because it has got built-in email alerts for both the supervisor and the student. When a student is uploading work after being given an activity, it will come to the attention of the supervisor. And when the student sends the feedback to the supervisor will get an alert that you have something from a student to look at. This will happen from the interactions or the agreements between the student and the supervisor to say, these are the milestones of the research module, or these are the milestones of the proposal module. within this year, for you to pass the proposal module, these are the milestones and these are the activities. Then they will agree between the student and the supervisor, because they need to commit to say, these are the activities that we are going to do this year, and we are expected to do them around this time. And the student will say, yes, I'm working, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm this and that, but I commit to at least within this period be able to reach these number of activities for these milestones to occur. And they put that down. And when those are happening, we get the alerts. We, meaning the student or the supervisor. And if those are not happening, the supervisor will get an alert that the student forgot to send the literature search. And then the supervisor will be able to remind the student. Then the tool is a master's and doctoral research progress monitoring, evaluation, and management of information. As the interactions between the student and the supervisor are happening, the tool also enables the quality assurers within the system to be able to check the progress. They will be able to extract report about the major milestones per student and see how far is the student getting towards reaching those milestones. And the system will be evaluated, because we don't say it's a conquer-all system. It will be implemented and colleagues will be able to give input as to the effectiveness, and where it is faltering, we will be able to panel beat it to ensure that it enhances supervision and it allows the quality assurers to monitor the progress of the students. We have quality assurance and automation in reporting of student supervisor engagements. So other than quality assurance being able to see what is going on, we will be able to automatically, as supervisors and students, have our interactions recorded. The process, as I have alluded to some of it, is that the student supervisor will agree upon a contract with module milestones to be uploaded on the dashboard by the supervisor. And the supervisor and student will briefly agree on research activities and timeframes. And those timeframes to the activities will generate alerts, and they will tell us what are the planned activities between ourselves. And the alerts will make sure that I don't forget to send whatever is due to the student, or the student doesn't forget to send what is due to me. But then if there is a problem between the student and the supervisor, then the automated alert will escalate to the next person. We will not wait to get information from the student that supervisor X is not available in terms of sickness, in terms of passing on, in terms of retirement and so forth. The student will not be left hanging for a few months before getting another supervisor, because if alerts are not attended to, they will escalate. This is the same alerts that are escalating, just like the J-router alerts. If the assignments are not marked and there is a problem with this person who has to mark, or lecturer who has to mark, then they are escalated to say there is a problem, the assignments are not marked. Even in this situation, if the supervisor is not available for whatever reason, the activities that are being sent to the student and the student is giving feedback to the supervisor, when the feedback is not getting attention, then they will escalate to the M&G coordinator in the department. And the M&G coordinator will then see what is the challenge between the student and the supervisor. If the supervisor is not available, then the student will be notified. There is automatic recording of research activities. which we are hoping that it will yield accurate reporting regarding the online teaching and learning during the master's and doctoral journey. And we are hoping that supervisors will be free from the interactions and later on going to record into the MyUNISA system, as this will be automatically recorded. And the students' progress will be able to be monitored without the supervisor having to write reports and the M&D coordinator in the department having to write reports, and the M&D coordinator at college level having to write reports to report to the Inter-College Postgraduate Study Committee. But then the relevant quality assurers that I have mentioned, they will be able to extract a report that will be a live report to say there is, in this department, there are so many M&D students, there are so many supervisors, and this is the progress of the students. So when the M&D coordinator goes to a meeting at college level, he or she will be able to extract that report and take it along. And the M&D coordinator at college level will also be able to extract a report about the M&D activities within the whole college and be able to report on challenges or report on progress made. Implementation of the master's and doctoral student supervision and monitoring dashboard, we are hoping that would improve research at UNISA, and students' experiences will also be improved. We are looking forward to the experiences being enhanced and enhanced throughput of M&D students because of the interaction between the supervisor and the student that will be improved. We are looking forward to an increase in research subsidy from the DHET because the recording will be automatic. It will not depend on people writing reports. And we are looking at enhanced quality because students that are active and those that are not active, they will be asked to commit to some work that they will also be able to deliver on that particular work, and possibly they might complete on time and give space to other students, as compared to when students are in the system for a longer period due to lack of inactivity. We are hoping that our students will get a positive student experiences and they will be satisfied because the system will improve the engagement processes. And we are hoping that the UNISA will be a credible institution with comprehensive research, improved research capabilities in terms of online teaching and learning at postgraduate level. To summarize what I've been saying, we are saying that we have put an intelligence layer over the MyUNISA M&D activities. We have put it on the MS Team platform, but we are looking at the student and the supervisor being the main role players. That's where we want the supervision to be enhanced so that as quality assurers we will be able to monitor the progress of the M&D students. The second part of my presentation was to introduce the team behind the M&D students dashboard. The project was carried out by ICT and CGS. It was conceptualized at CGS, but you know CGS is the academic part, and then we needed the help of the ICT. So the team behind the College of Graduate Studies, it's myself, acting head of quality assurance, and I'm also the project leader. I was responsible for putting in together whatever information was necessary and funds application for the ICT to be able to assist, and also approval of the business case and all others so that the project could be well conceptualized. We also have Ms. Sylvia Kurumani, is the CGS Risk and Project Manager. Then we had Ms. Tebogo Kope, is the Quality Assurance and Enhancement research assistant, but she was also the project administrator. Then we have Mr. Tshwaro Motsahe. You got a lot of emails from him inviting you to come to training. Mr. Motsahe, he said CGS is the MND Students Dashboard Administrator together with Mr. Bohokhupe. Then from the ICT side, the team was the project manager, Mr. Zolani Klekwa. He made sure that we are having all the necessary meetings to plan the dashboard for it to be able to go forward. And he was also responsible for the procurement of all the technical resources that we needed, including human and material resources. Then Ms. Belinda Mulepo is the business analyst from ICT. She was the one who was helping CGS to put the words in the 4IR language, because we were speaking in the lay terms as academics, and she had to say, no, in ICT language, this is how we say it and this is how we put it down. That's why we finally had a document that was approved in the various stages of approval through the ICT quality processes. We had Ms. Murongwa Edith Makamato. Ms. Makamato is from UNISA ODEL. She's a change management specialist, and she provided some of the awareness trainings, and she's the one who's also checking the uptake from the implementations. Lastly, but not least, we have the main man, Mr. Kevin Chiowa. He was the one who was responsible for developing the solution. And currently we are conducting the trainings. We were on pilot phase now in March. We are hoping that we are solving all the bugs. That's the language they are using. We are fixing them. Then we will be able to move on to upload all other people. One of the main questions that we get from the supervisors is, are we doing away with the MyUNISA activities? And the answer is yes. As long as a supervisor is having all the students uploaded, all the students active on the MND students dashboard, then we will stop the MyUNISA activities for that supervisor, because all the students will be actively supervised and will be able to track their progress. We are hoping that before 2021 ends, we will all be using the system and it will be free from challenges, as we really intend to fix all challenges as much as is possible. Thank you, colleagues, for coming. I hope a lot will be said about the strategic level, but before that, we will also hear from other people to say, how has it been supervising the students without the students' voice? And also we will then hear strategically how this project is placed and how this dashboard has really been a need at strategic level. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Dr. Matua. That was quite insightful. I would like to remind the audience that this is being recorded. It will later be shared to you as to how you can get hold of it. And we have reached 350 attendees, and I'm quite proud of that. I can see 6 people left. Maybe they went to get some cup of coffee. But thank you very much for making your time for today. And this dashboard is definitely something that will help academics and students hold each other accountable. I think it's an incredible invention. We are moving on to Mr. Jason Mengsan, who's the Acting Director of Academic Systems ICT, which also comes to place to who's going to come tell us about the ICT journey. As you've heard, Dr. Magua has been quite referencing the ICT part of things, which is pretty much the generation that we live in with all these technologies. He will be giving us that journey. He's actually been with the UNISA for about 20 years. So he has a lot to tell us. So let's hear from him. The floor is yours, Mr. Jason Mengsan. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm going to... All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, I've served for 20 years now, and I mean, you know, it brings us to the question: what is it that attracts and retains people like myself at UNISA as students? What is it that attracts us to return to UNISA to pursue our goals of continuous learning, research, and knowledge creation? And also, what is it that keeps us as academics in service to our students at UNISA? And when we reflect on these things, we talk about and we reflect on the digital transformation journey, UNISA's digital transformation journey. And the question is, to what extent is UNISA retaining relevance in a changing technological and social context? So we talk about UNISA's digital transformation journey, and we would say perhaps the turning point or perhaps a tipping point was in 2019, where UNISA, in terms of technology and their advancement in that space, first went to the cloud when the MyAdmin and MyUNISA systems were split. It was primarily for stability. Firstly, to stabilize the systems. We were experiencing significant demand growth, and it was important that we adapt our systems to meet that need. And so, as strategically, UNISA adopts a cloud-first strategy, and it's really about transitioning. And so, what happened in 2019? Well, the MyUNISA and the MyAdmin capabilities were split. And the MyUNISA teaching and learning capability was transitioned to the Azure cloud, and that was celebrated by Microsoft in their article that they published in December of 2020, describing UNISA's early success with transitioning to the cloud for such a key critical component. So where are we now? So that was in 2019. And in 2019, we began focusing on operational efficiency, stabilization of systems, etc. And we remark that as our digital initiation, where we define what it is, our blueprint for the way forward. And we find ourselves now in 2020, where we're launching our M&E student supervision and monitoring dashboard. And that lays the digital foundation where we start to build these capabilities focused on student centricity. And we'll start to see that progress from 2020 into 2023. And beyond that, we're looking at a focus on digital mastery. It's about transitioning the entire organization to the space of digitalization. And beyond that, in 2025 and beyond, we refer to digital fluidity, where we find ultimate realization of the benefits of this foundation that we're laying to pursue our goals of becoming being that world-class ODEL institution. So from an IT perspective, what are those IT capabilities needed for such ODEL enablement? Particularly in this project, these are the key areas that we gave attention to, that actually used and that we leveraged to deliver this project. And we continue to evolve and improve. But in terms of digital enablement, it's about agile project management, and Zolani is key in that area. He's instrumental in that area. It's the institutional information management thereof, and that's key to providing this type of a dashboard and this type of a capability. And then we look at digital products and service delivery. It's really about student engagement and collaboration solutions, and this is what we're seeing. Of course, technological innovation. We talked about cloud-first strategy and what we're seeing, the building blocks that ultimately translate to the experience that you are experiencing. Is built on the Azure platform. We refer to platform as a service, and the idea is that we use stable, available, and scalable technologies, and so that we spend our effort and focus on creating that value on top of that, and creating that competitive advantage, that reason why I would return to UNISA to pursue my next undergraduate and postdoctoral, postgraduate degree. So we of course we encourage continuous learning, and this is why we are evolving and pursuing these initiatives. It's really to ensure that we remain relevant. And so the other components that were relevant in this project, in terms of digital governance, we have adaptive ICT sourcing. It's about getting the right skills and the right resources onboarded just in time to deliver on these solutions. And of course, the agility, the way we do our developments, the way we do releasing, it's really about agile development, continuous value delivery, leveraging cloud capabilities. And so these are the key components that contribute toward the success of this project. So just briefly talking about this particular project, it went through phases of onboarding, planning and building and release. And so our technical team started their collaboration on the 1st of February. They were given orientation, they were onboarded and granted access to the platform. As part of the onboarding, relevant stakeholders were introduced, and work had begun. And then we progressed to the planning. It entails business requirements, approval, review, design documents presented and reviewed, and integration sessions held, systems developed, tested, and so what we're seeing here is in such a short time. The key is being agile in our approach to developing these capabilities in such a short time. And if we keep this momentum, we'll start to see an escalation in the value derived, especially in the student experience as we continue our studies at UNISA. And of course, this is where we are. It's been released. The change request was submitted for approval. It was approved. And our inaugural system has gone live in February, and our project team is conducting further training and onboarding, as you've heard from our project leader. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. That was a quick one. That was the most quickest goodbye I've ever heard. Hey, it's like I gave you all the beautiful things in the journey in Ngiyabonga. Yeah, thank you for that. Mr. Mengsan. We can clearly see that UNISA defines tomorrow as we work together with our academics and ICT developers and directors in the interest of the students by advancing technology. As we live with these beautiful cell phones with touch screens and laptops, we definitely are defining tomorrow and leading by example in this country. I will now be moving over to a supervisor who is Professor Tracy McKay at the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, who has roughly around 36 master students that she has led to completion, which is great. And I'm pretty sure she can give us the supervisor's voice on that. Thank you. Over to you, Prof.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. And I must say that the previous speakers really outlined the case so well, from Prof. Miwa, of the overall concept that UNISA has this important role in furthering postgraduate studies and contributing to the knowledge economy, but also that UNISA has this obligation to increase the numbers. And as we increase our numbers of PhD students, and of course then you have to increase your numbers of M students as well, because that's the feeder, is that our systems need to be different. And I think the process, as Dr. Makua has outlined, is that we had a system, Sakai, we're all aware of Sakai, but it had its limitations. For me personally, using Sakai was a bit clunky. It didn't necessarily record interactions in the way that I would have liked it to record. So I think the new system for me is quite exciting. And then Jason also highlighted for us the amount of behind the scenes work, the places where we don't necessarily applaud the IT people. I find a lot of people respond to me and they say, well, surely it's just a quick software thing. They don't realize just how much work goes on behind the scenes to make a dashboard project like this work. So thank you so much, Jason. I do want to say that I think UNISA already supports students in some ways better than contact universities. That might be controversial with contact universities, but that's because many of them haven't experienced the UNISA system. I do think that the UNISA system of the proposal module is really supportive of students, and I do think the UNISA NEC system, for example, is supportive of students. Perhaps what I would say needs more attention, and I know that Dr. Makua said that in the long run it's planned to integrate the other divisions into the dashboard project. I'm thinking specifically around registration and around bursary applications and general admin queries, sometimes finance, that students really battle to sort out, and that can often increase the levels of stress in students. And as we know, there is an indirect relationship between stress and academic achievement, in that I mean, you know, the more stressed you are, the less likely you are to be able to focus on academic tasks, especially difficult ones that are required at M&D level. So I would really like to see that in the long run. For me, I really hope that this new system will be extended to external supervisors, because quite honestly, having been an NEC, many of the issues are with external supervisors, not necessarily internal. But what I'm also hoping is that for me as a supervisor, this dashboard project is going to become more of a one-stop shop. I like the idea of students uploading work to the dashboard project instead of just simply emailing me, because there are some days, some weeks where my email box is super full. I will get up to 200 emails a day. So you can imagine that in 200 emails, sometimes they're just small queries that can be solved quickly, but it's that inundation, and it has on occasion where an email from a postgrad student has somehow slipped through my fingers, as it were, and I never noticed it. And so there was a delay in me getting back to the student. So I really like the idea of uploading it. I like the idea of the automatic reporting. I really like the idea of notifications coming through to us as supervisors. It's not that we forget students, but sometimes one becomes overwhelmed with other deadlines, with other reporting, as our academics in UNISA know. Sometimes upper management wants information at very short turnarounds, and so you end up focusing on that, and then the student unfortunately gets left behind. So it's nice to see reminders coming through. In that regard, one of the reasons I was so excited to hear about this project, and why I'm really grateful that I'm part of the pilot, is that I spent quite a lot of time really reflecting and reading up on the supervisor-student relationship and how to be a better supervisor. And prior to moving to UNISA, I had worked at the University of Johannesburg, And I realized that one of the issues that I was facing is that my students were taking a long time to graduate. In fact, on average, my UJ students were taking 4.2 years to get to graduation. For an M student, that's a long time. Now that I've moved to UNISA, I can proudly tell you that the amount of time has been reduced to 3.5 years, but that is still too long. And I reflected on this and realized that what students need is, in addition to time support and content support, and by time support, I mean in terms of managing their time and deadlines, and content support speaks for itself, but they also need emotional support. Because this process of postgraduate studies can be lonely, it can be disheartening. Often students feel inadequate, even though they're not. It is a difficult process. It can be a lonely process. So I think that this dashboard project, well, I'm hoping that it'll give more of a sense of group identity, where all the students know that there is oversight behind the system. There's more transparent deadlines that they need to meet, that the deadline isn't just with me as a supervisor, there's other people. And I think it's going to give them a sense of confidence in the system. So I'm really excited about that. I would like to say that I liked Dr. Makua's comment that it's a nudging process, because we don't want it to become a big brother system. We don't want it to be a micromanagement system. We really want it to be a system that's going to assist the supervisors and assist the students to obviously achieve excellence, but within a realistic time frame. And so when Dr. Makua was talking about some supervisors having too many students, I thought to myself, oh, that could be me, because I've got 14 at the moment. But part of the problem is that protracted submission process, that sometimes students don't necessarily meet deadlines, or myself as a supervisor, I don't get back to students on time. And I really believe that the system can help us. But it should be a nudging process. We don't want to add to people's stress and anxiety. And in that respect, I think it's important to also remember that there's a difference between an M student and a PhD student. It's much harder to be a PhD student because the requirements are just much greater, and the amount of time taken to collect data and analyze it, for example, are just that much longer. So I'm sure that in the piloting process, we're going to start seeing that nuance and hopefully be able to tweak the system. This is a comment especially to you, Jason, to tweak the system that we deal with the PhD students slightly differently, because they need a lot more, I would say, emotional support to get through what is a very tough process. And that's why, of course, a PhD is so valued, is that we know that you're a pretty special person once you've gone through this quite lonely journey, because there's really nobody else that's working on your specific topic in ways that is not necessarily the case at other levels. So yes, from a supervisor's perspective, I acknowledge that I have my limitations. I may have taken on too many students. As an example, there's definitely times when I haven't got back to students timeously because of other crises that have emerged, or just your general workload with running a normal module, for example, and the requests for reports and attending meetings. So hopefully this will help to nudge all of us as supervisors to get back to students timeously, but also help students better manage their time. Because my experience is that students tend to sort of wake up around September and realize that they haven't done enough work. There's this lull in activity. My experience is there's quite a bit of activity around February, March, April. Then there's a lull, and then back around September, students pick up activity again. So there's a bit of a lull where work should have been submitted or done, and it isn't. Of course, these are generalizations. There are some students who work incredibly hard throughout the year, but of course there's other students where life happens. I've had students who've suffered miscarriages, for example, deaths in families, changing of jobs, and that can also impact on deadlines. But I think overall, this external monitoring and knowing that people are beyond the supervisor and the student invested in the process, I think will help to create a sense of community and make UNISA an even better place for a postgraduate student. Because at the moment, I think UNISA offers a lot more services than contact universities and a lot more support. I know that contact universities would disagree, but really, I mean, our library is fantastic. We do have bursaries available for students. Our supervisors are generally available to students. The turnaround time might be debatable, but you know, I've heard horror stories from other contact universities, so I think we mustn't be so hard on ourselves. But that said, I think this is going to really lead the way. I think it's groundbreaking. Other universities in South Africa could really learn from us, if not other universities in the world could learn from us. So I'm very excited to be part of this project, and I'm very proud of being a UNISAN at the moment that we've made these huge steps. So with that, I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you very much, especially to Dr. Makua, who constantly engaged with me, and Hanli as well, who made sure that all the admin behind presenting was clear to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. McKay. I think you've given your side, and we unfortunately couldn't get a student up. We had some technical issues to hear the student side, but we are a community, a growing community, supporting our students and working together with our students to the common goal of pretty much investing in our research, which pretty much gives us an output of better development in every single sphere of the economy and our lives pretty much. Our next speaker is Professor Luvuyo Lalendle, who is an Executive Director of Planning and Quality Assurance at the University of South Africa. He is a former Vice Rector of Teaching and Quality Assurance at the Northwest University. He has served as the Director at the Institutional Audits at the Council on Higher Education. He has also worked in higher education for more than 30 years. His writing have been largely in transformation in higher education and planning and teaching and learning. So pretty much his insight on this transformation of giving a platform that can better interact, that is the platform that can help the interaction between a supervisor and a student in the interaction to be better. He will give us a better overview of that and how this transformation can better our education system in this beautiful university of ours. He is the keynote address, and I would like to give the floor to him. Over to you, Prof.
Good morning to the colleagues, and also like to thank you for inviting me to speak to you on this auspicious occasion that you are having as University of South Africa. And I do believe that master's and doctoral student supervision and the monitoring dashboard is a strategic and an innovative response to improve student success at the university. And as far as I would do, then I think colleagues, I will actually take off my video and just go through the slides, because I think there might be issues of connectivity from my side. I would like to move to the next slide, which I think is a very important slide for us to actually deal with, and then which talks about how does this initiative actually builds into issues of quality within our own context. And I think preserving quality in postgraduate education is everybody's business. And since it is everybody's business, my plea to both students and also academics is the fact that let's create a conducive environment for students to actually be able to travel this long, arduous and lonely road, which is not supposed to be lonely if we create communities of practice and create critical masses within our disciplines and grow the next cohort of academics and also of leaders within the country in all spheres of the economy. Colleagues, a few things that I think are important also is that whenever you move into a university, you need to be inducted into the institutional postgraduate culture of that particular institution. And that is created in many ways. In some places, you create it by creating communities of practice where postgraduate students would come to the university or meet through platforms such as this in order for them to share their struggles and tribulations around writing and around presentation of their work, and also to try and theorize on a number of issues in terms of their frameworks and also with the different literature that they're dealing with and methodologies that they need to be using. This tool then that we are launching today, and thanks to the colleagues within the College of Postgraduate Studies, and I'd like at least to congratulate the Acting Executive Director, Professor Ngolube, and Dr. Makua and your team, and also congratulate Professor Mewa for her leadership in this respect as a project sponsor, to actually come to this point where we can launch a monitoring and a reporting tool, which will give us some insight on how students progress in this journey of postgraduate studies. I'd like to also ask us to look at the next slide, if we can, colleagues. I guess as a university, we don't exist in a vacuum. We are established to service some national needs, and we are part of the national system of knowledge and creation and innovation, and which that puts some few prerogatives on us, because from a national point of view, as you might recall, we have the National Development Plan, and we have also the 2063 African Agenda, and we also have the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that we all aspire to contribute in one way or another. At a national level, reduction of poverty is an important aspect, which I think postgraduate education should contribute that. We need to build capacity and skills in order to actually run the economy and make this place a conducive space for us to live on. We need to expand opportunities for a number of our students and also a number of our social partners. And also we need to promote rising living standards for everyone within South Africa, the continent, and the world. And also we need to develop vibrant and thriving communities in order to have a better world. Colleagues, the key individuals within this development trajectory have listed a few things that they expect the country to reach by 2030. And this is in line with the UNISA strategy of 2016 to 2030, where then we talk about increasing the number of master's and doctoral students, but also we need a lot of staff members who would actually have PhDs. And at the time when this was crafted, is the fact that there were 34% of academics that had PhDs. And I can also, not boastingly, but I think we can also move. I can tell you that as of 2018 census, UNISA had 54.4 academics that have doctoral degrees. And I hope the numbers are not decreasing, but they have to improve. And I'm actually happy that our new Vice Chancellor, Professor Binkambula, has actually pledged her support in ensuring that the numbers are grown exponentially at a very fast rate. Colleagues, I think other issues that the university is expected to do is to produce, I think, doctoral graduates per million. And I think this is one that this tool will also assist us in achieving that, because to a large extent, UNISA is doing its lot, and I think it has got almost among the top 4 or 5 institutions in terms of the production. I think there are about 2 or 3 that are actually ahead of us. But also this would imply that we actually have to contribute as a sector up to 5,000 doctoral students in a year to reach these stretch goals that the National Development Plan has set for the institution. But colleagues, I think as you have been around, you can move to the next slide, please. If you have been around, you have heard these things that you people are talking about. Next slide, please. Go back a bit. Again, back. Okay, I think let me just deal with that. I'm saying that for some reason, we have heard quite a lot of people that will talk about how we need to increase our research output and citation. We have people that are talking about how many of our academics are rated. I've just spoken about the number of staff who actually have PhDs, and other people are more interested also in number of chairs at the university, and also number of research collaboration we have with South and North Hemisphere institutions. But I think what's important for me to actually share with you is the fact that as of I think there's a 2019 data, we want to say to you, we actually have awarded 367 doctorates, and those are the numbers of masters, which are over 1,000, and honors about that number, which 55,023. And we need then to start harnessing our pipeline, meaning that we must have a better conversion rate of our honors into masters and our masters into doctoral thing. And I think this tool helps to deal with those inefficiencies within the system that lead to a higher dropout of students within the masters and PhD spaces in which the College of Graduate Studies is responsible for. And colleagues, I want to actually show that while then the university is bottom heavy, meaning that a large proportion of our students are in undergraduate programs, the College of Graduate Studies was established to also ensure that we have quality offerings, we've got efficiencies that we are building in the system, and I believe that this is just one of that step towards that particular thing, and that should be in line with our strategy as a university. Can we move on to the next slide, please? I've spoken to that. Can you move to the next one again? Yeah, thank you. Colleagues, I think when I was asked to speak, I did not know that I would be the keynote speaker, because I just wanted to come and congratulate the college for successfully finishing such a momentous task of developing a tool that will assist us to monitor postgraduate success and progress within their master's and doctoral thing. But I want to really say this is in line with our strategy. And I just talk a little bit on that because I'm passionate about it. We pride ourselves of being an African university, shaping futures in service of humanity. But our mission compels us that we must offer certificates up to doctoral degrees and also in academic, vocational spaces, and including professional and as an open distance e-learning institution, we need to produce lifelong learners, but also provide quality university education. And I think this tool help us in actually operationalizing that intent that our strategy and in terms of vision and mission actually speaks to. But if you look at other aspects in terms of how this tool contributes to, I've highlighted them in green under stakeholder perspective because it would enhance student success rates. Then when we talk about student success rates, it means that we're going to get rid of all these inefficiency where student thesis sits for a while without being marked because it has not come to the attention that it is ready, or other inefficiencies that deals with long registration processes and also ethical clearance in some cases. Therefore, these issues, as you deal with, take out those inefficiencies, our success rate and the time to graduation will be even shorter than 3.5 years that Prof. McKay has spoken about. But colleagues, our strategy requires us to grow the postgraduate component of the university. And we're currently hovering around 11-12%, but the strategy says by 2030, we'll have 20% of that component should be at the postgraduate level. And that is a mammoth task because it's almost like doubling what we have. But if we're not efficient with the numbers that we have, we can't handle as twice as much as those. And I want to say from a strategic point, colleagues, the university need to sit and reflect on how we manage postgraduate education as a university and how we actually deal with issues of workloads, how we also deal with what we call issues around supervision, because I think we're still steep in the Oxbridge model where it was an apprentice model where you have the student to a supervisor, they work until they finish, the next one comes or whatever. Now these issues of dealing with 13, 14, 20, we have not really prepared ourselves on that, but there are modern ways of doing that, which could be cohort supervision, and in a more structured fashion, we need actually to be dealing with some of these things. And that would improve the student satisfaction indexes. The student would be happy about the offerings, happy about their journey. And I think that would also translate to us now reaching some of these targets where we say, from this supervised research project, we want articles, then that will improve our research output. And then I think to a large extent, if the whole endeavor have been an endeavor of quality, then we'll be able to get these articles accepted in high impact journals, and that will improve also our research citation index. And with that, colleagues, the university will also be financially sustainable because you'll be able to attract contracts, will be able to attract subsidy, and also attract quality students to our institution. And this tool speaks largely also to a smart campus implementation, because we don't want to be on a face-to-face. We want to be dealing with things online and basically be able to continue to do our communication. Colleagues, let me move and say that will lead us to be a preferred higher education to study at, and also people would want to work for this institution. Therefore, this tool might assist us in achieving those things, but also it's starting to force us to speak to the fourth industrial revolution, technology-driven environment, which I think I want to congratulate the colleagues for doing that. And at another level, I think our scholarship would actually be encompassing our ethos of being located in Africa, being African, and dealing with African issues. And those things we would do also if we seek for global cooperation to further our thing. Next slide, please. As I want to actually say then, from a strategic point of view, we actually have adopted a model that comes from the Monitoring Evaluation Unit, which is in the South African presidency, and then which actually talks about whatever you do, you must first, at the apex of it, look at what the impact will be. And then also the outcomes must actually be the ones that are monitored largely at a council level, and the outputs will be managed at a portfolio level, and the activities will go into colleges and departments. And for us, that I'm just wanted to highlight this model using two KPIs, which is 4.3 and 4.4. To grow the postgraduate component to 20% of student enrollments. Therefore, we mean that there is some recruitment, training, preparation that should happen at a college level. And also, we must improve our honors degree participation rates and conversion into masters, and for masters, conversion into PhDs. But also at some level, at portfolio level, I think where Prof. Meyiwa works and with the College of Graduate Studies, we talk in terms of how then you would support those kind of strategies that are happening at colleges, and exploring of diverse supervision models that I've spoken to, and look at intensifying the academic support model for postgraduate students. And I think these are some of the outputs that we expect to be happening at that. And I think the outcome then would that by 2030, the university would have 20% of postgraduate participation rates at the University of South Africa. And that will contribute to quality education, providing equity of access and success for all those that are enrolled in postgraduate education. Same applies to advancing scholarship, publishing in high impact journals as an input, and also collaborations is part of that aspect. And then also the university must look at giving incentives for joint publication with external experts on mutual projects, and then also training and immersion of programs to support emerging researchers, which I think they are actually happening under the leadership of Professor Meyiwa. And then colleagues, I want to say then the portfolio should intensify the African-centered research outputs, patents and innovations, and also at an outcome level, the council must actually see that we are advancing African scholarship through global collaboration, and that would contribute to knowledge creation and generation in that space. The next slide. Next slide, please. Colleagues, I want to say that while we implore you to be doing all these things, I think let's acknowledge what's good within our space within the university. I think I've had a few encounters with Ethiopian postgraduate supervision project model that have yielded high outputs, graduation rates within minimum timeframes. And I think that's a model that we should actually continue to build on the experiences and lessons that we're getting from there. But also, I think with this tool, we'll continue to monitor even better now the retention of masters and postgraduate students. And then colleagues, let us not underestimate the value of the library that we have, which is well endowed with resources to support our students. And I think to a large extent, most people in the African continent and within the Southern Hemisphere would actually marvel at what we have. Therefore, that's a resource that I think comes out tops in terms of support for students in master's and doctoral programs. There are some pockets of excellence, use of my user classroom and uploading of some resources to support students. And let's continue with that. And I assume that we're gonna move into also better platforms as we move on. And I think the cloud and the stability of the system, I think cannot be overemphasized. ICT, we take our head out for you for moving us to the cloud, because there are limited periods where you can't access systems because of things that have just gone down. And I think I've spoken to the numbers of people that have got PhDs and doctoral, I think as of 2018. I think also UNISA is fourth most productive university in produced doctoral students from staff with doctoral degrees. And colleagues, I think there are also quite a lot of strategic projects that are undertaken in respect to language and all other aspects within the university. Let me be reflective, because I think most of these things that I'm saying, most of you might have heard them before, but I want us to start and reflect. A doctoral student work or a master's student work is a very comprehensive work and a challenging one. Few things that they have to do. They have to navigate through admission, which is not made easier. And I think we should actually work on making the admission process not as long as it is. We should also work around the proposal stages, but I think that it's not too much of a hassle in terms of the complaints that I hear, but also support from supervisors. I think there are planned support sessions that are organized by the College of Graduate Studies, but also I think supervisors must also play a larger role in terms of either supporting the students in that space. They also issues that we need to deal with around information on conflict resolution, where supervisors and students do not agree. We must have almost agile systems that assist us in dealing with those things within time so that students are not delayed. Monitoring, evaluation, student progress, we've got now the dashboard and the tool that will do that. And also we should then ensure that our students and academics share appropriate knowledge and skills in their given field. And also we would like to see our students being mobile to actually come and join us as academics or move into other spheres and operate. This online dashboard, I think as I conclude, colleagues, I want to say it is a strategic innovation by any stretch of imagination, but it has been long overdue. That's why the call audit, when it listened to the issues, it recommended that that should be prioritized. And I'm glad that we have arrived at this stage at this moment. I do believe also COVID-19, while it had all its challenges, but also it has given an impetus for us to move faster in this particular thing. therefore it has been a motivator in one way or another. May I request you to move on to the next slide? Sorry, we left each other. Let's go to the next one again. Yes, thank you. As I'm saying that also we were very, I'll say, lucky, because when we had the COVID response grant that the university received some funds from the Department of Higher Education, we were able to kickstart that process of this dashboard, and the timing was perfect, colleagues. And I think this initiative, we would like to continue it for the next 3 years in terms of refining it, making it better, and working in supporting of students through online support that is provided by the college. And I think it has improved tracking of our student progress. And I do believe that it's also improved reporting on supervision outcomes, and also, colleagues, the lack of monitoring progress of our students would actually be taken care of. And I think then would actually have quality outcomes and quality supervision. I'd like to thank you. Move to the next slide. I'd like to thank you for listening to me, and I hope that this venture will take us 5 steps forward as we march into becoming a supreme institution in the continent that is known for quality of its provision and quality of its students and the quality of its academics and its research. And I thank you for the opportunity. And Program Director, you may have your program back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Alalendle. Yes, you've quite highlighted the transformation's importance. I think we can all agree that this process is in fact necessary as we enhance our institution to support our learners, or rather our students, in bettering their academic career. I would like to now give over to Professor Patrick Ngulube, who is the Acting Executive Dean of College of Graduate Studies, to do our closing remarks, and then I will take over from there. Thank you, Prof. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity. Let me preface my closing remarks by underscoring that CGS is committed to excellency in research support in line with the university's strategic intent and the Odell business model. I think you'll agree with me that excellency is the basis of the ethos of Ubuntu, because according to Ubuntu principles, people do not just relate and connect to each other in order to survive, but they thrive for excellency in whatever activity they will be involved in. So CGS uses the Ubuntu lens, which reinforces excellency, to enhance communication with the students using technological based platforms such as the dashboard that we are launching today. We also improve the quality of the student experience by monitoring, identifying challenges before it is too late, and providing an enabling early warning systems such as this dashboard. Therefore, the dashboard is a strategic support system that will enhance student support in the university. And having said that, I want now to go on to the brief that I was given, that is to thank the Vice Principal, Professor Yeiwa, for welcoming us in the spirit of Ubuntu, opening the doors for us, because she is the leader in this particular space, and the College of Graduate Studies belongs in her portfolio. The Vice Principal underscored the need to provide an integrated support system because of the current demands of the postgraduate space and the National Innovation System. And after that, I would like to thank our keynote speaker, who emphasized the role of the dashboard in transforming the supervision landscape at UNISA and higher education in South Africa and all spheres of the economy. Over and above this project, over and above all this project is going to provide an innovative platform to preserve quality of postgraduate education at UNISA and in the country in support of the Sustainable Development Goals and the African Agenda. I think that is the message that I got from the keynote presenter. So I would like to thank him very much for actually showing the link between the activities of CGS in support of postgraduate students and the building of the Africa that we hope for in line with the development goals. I would be amiss if I don't thank Professor Lalende's office for believing in this project and supporting it. And I'm also excited that he indicated that there will be support for this project going into the future, and making sure that maybe we incorporate all other functionalities that will make the student research journey enjoyable. In the same vein, I would also want to thank the project leader, Dr. Makua, for her passion for quality in the graduate supervision space. Excellency, which underlines the Ubuntu Foundation, is the goal of quality assurance. This project was also implemented successfully through teamwork, because it was through the work of the team that that Dr. Makua led that we are here today. So thanks again to the team for giving the supervisor and the student a voice through this platform. Furthermore, I would like to thank Mr. John Minsang. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name properly, for tracing UNISA's technological transformation journey up to this point where we have this dashboard. And he emphasized that our technological transformation has always had the student at the center. And our mandate as the College of Graduate Studies is to put the student at the center and make sure that we provide an excellent support service to the students. To Professor Tracy McKay, I want to thank you very much. You brought in an interesting point, which I thought I should also mention in my vote of thanks, that the project will reduce stress in students and the supervisors. And I think we all don't want stress. So thank you very much for underscoring that point and actually emphasizing that the dashboard is going to provide a one-stop shop for all our supervision activities. And thanks also for sharing your rich experience in supervising graduate students and how the dashboard is going to enhance supervision activities. Last but not least, I would like to thank our program director for handling the event very well. And also, I shouldn't forget the participants for attending this important and strategic event. Thank you very much. to the participants for coming and attending this event. I thank you once more for attending this event and hope that the dashboard will be used to enhance student support in the spirit of Ubuntu, as I said, to enhance scholarship through the production of postgraduate students and publishing, as underscored by our keynote speaker, Professor Lalendle, and our Vice Principal, Professor Meyiwa. Ngiyabonga. Thank you very much. Goodbye.